Hey everyone, we're here to talk about why secrets management is no longer a nice to have. I'll be your host today, and I'm joined by three amazing guests. Let's start off with Matthew, who's a senior cybersecurity engineer at Financial Times. Matthew, you want to give a quick intro?
Hi, sure, yes. I'm Matt, as Brian said, senior cybersecurity engineer, which is a mouthful, but I work for the Financial Times. I've been here for about 2.5 years now, responsible mainly for delivering kind of custom products that the FT produces, but responsible for the engineers and making sure that they build things securely and have the tooling and the services that they need. Previously worked in the UK government, civil service, and I'm based in London.
Thanks, Matt. All right, next we have Blake, who's an executive director of digital engineering at Beachbody. Blake, you want to give us an intro?
Yeah, hi, thank you, Matt. It's great to be here. Yeah, so I have about 20 years of experience in full stack engineering. My primary focus has been in video engineering. The first half was spent as a kind of back-end developer, mostly working on video systems. And the last, going on a little over 7 years now, I've been at Beachbody, and been in management on helping build and foster the culture of their digital engineering department. And we build seven or eight front end applications that deliver video streaming of our workout content. And we have my team also manages all the backend infrastructure for that, which is where we're primarily using Doppler.
Thank you. And we also have Jeff, who's a senior engineering manager at Secureframe.
Thanks, Brian. Howdy, folks. Jeff Barr, working out of Central Oregon. Been with Secureframe about 2 years now. I've been doing DevSecOps work for more years than I care to count at this point. But it's always been my passion and always been, working in the basement, making sure the light switches work.
Well, let's get this show on the road. So to get us all started, what do you think about the security landscape around secrets today? I'll throw it to you, Matt, to get us started.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it is really interesting right now. It's when we started investigating what our options were back about 18 months ago now, I think. There is not that many products on the market that are doing this kind of thing. It's actually quite a small space. And so I mean, it made it easier for me because I can just evaluate the things that were there. But there is kind of a lot of kind of regular kind of usage without much exploration of what other options are out there. And I think a lot of people might not even necessarily recognize that there is a need for secrets management as a part of their security stack. So yeah, we did quite a in-depth evaluation at the time, and found that there was a lot of things that we needed to do. The Financial Times was particularly hit by the Circle CI and Heroku leaks, and we spent a considerable number of hours at the time trying to work around those problems. And we needed something that worked for engineers, and a lot of the existing tooling and the tooling that we had at the time was not doing that for us. So yeah, that's why we went with Doppler. We were looking at our options are essentially what we kind of concluded was the difference between Lego and IKEA. I know, Brian, I think we've spoken about this before, that there's the Lego model of you have to build everything, and you kind of but you get lots of options, and you can kind of make it how it is. And for us, we quite like the IKEA model. You're building it yourself, but you end up with a thing that you actually want and expect to want, and you're not kind of having to mess around with it too much. And yeah, so that was the real kind of winner for us. Was we wanted the thing that worked, and wanted the thing that was for engineers.
Absolutely. And to add on to that, I mean, of primary importance to Secureframe is the speed at which we can deliver, we can ship, but also safely, right? Like you can build stuff very quickly and in a sort of bespoke manner to manage secrets, but then you maintain it, right? And as a DevOps person, the one thing I guard against most carefully is toil. And when you build something by yourself, you're introducing toil by default. And Doppler allows us to really, shift that toil left essentially, right? And most importantly, lets us control access and audit things, right? Which you have to build yourself again if you're building it in your own environment. And having dealt with many of those systems in the past, I know it's easy. I know it's fun. I wouldn't call any of this terrifically fun, but it's more fun to be able to say, we're covered. We have this down pat and we know what we're doing.
Yeah, from my perspective, with the rise of development and CI/CD automation, right? Doing everything as infrastructure as code. That's something that we've really pushed from the day one, is that we don't want to have, people logging into consoles and clicking buttons to build infrastructure. We want to have documented infrastructure, which is why we do it as code. But along with that comes multiple environments, multiple secrets, rotating of keys, all of these things that were hugely manual processes and were only allowed, a select few only had access to that. So building something for or using something for secrets management became a real need in our business years ago. And even before we discovered Doppler, and then local development for our engineers was a whole nother problem on top of that. Passing around secrets through either password managers, plain text over Slack or chats, through email, all of those things, very bad security practices that we were trying to guard against. And we ended up years ago writing our own solution. But that comes with a whole nother slew of problems that we now have to audit and maintain our own internal configuration management. We have, permission levels, being able to do different branches and different environments, making sure that all the mappings are correct. Inheritance is a huge problem there. So finding Doppler was amazing for us because we at BODi, we want to be in the business of building, solving our customers' problems, not solving infrastructure or problems that like, we don't want to build our own software for things that are common problems across the industry, and secrets management is one of those. So leaving it to somebody like Doppler to use it as a software as a service solution for us makes infinitely more sense than trying to roll our own and maintain it and enhance it and put all the features in it. Doppler has been rolling out features left and right since we've started using them, and has taken our feedback and our requests, and we've already seen material stuff come of that from our workflow perspective. So yeah, I just think security secrets as a thing are getting bigger and bigger. I know that Matthew talked about getting hit with leaks from their CI pipelines. That's a major concern, and local development has been a major concern of ours. So the fact that Doppler has a solution for all of that has been, a breath of fresh air.
I'm
Yeah,
curious.
that's great. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was going to add to what Blake was saying, that the local development stuff was a huge thing that really benefited us as well. So yeah, that's a massive benefit.
I'd love to unpack that just a little bit more. I'm curious, Matt and Jeff, what did it look like before Doppler? And what was that pain point that made you said, now we need to prioritize this?
Shall I go?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so we were running an internal Vault, the HashiCorp Vault service. We were running it ourselves. One of the early signs that we had were things like teams will come to us and say, I've deleted a secret and I want it back. We didn't have an answer for that. And there are kind of recent updates to Vault that do that sort of thing. We investigated those and we took our entire secrets platform down. So we actually took down quite a lot of our environment because we were trying to improve things. And that was one of the first signs that we thought, let's look at something else. And then along with kind of the HashiCorp and the Circle CI and Heroku leaks as well. But said that we need to do something better here because our existing tooling is not meeting the needs. We were spending quite a lot of time investing in rotating secrets in Vault. And it was just, we could measure that time, and we could measure the effort that we're putting in maintaining Vault. It's a secrets platform. So, my team, who, have plenty of other things to do, we're also, responsible for making sure that no one got access to the secrets that we that we were looking after. And it's that kind of that, I guess, side time of things that we were doing. It inevitably is not going to be the number one priority. So having a SaaS service that can do a lot of the work for us means that we can spend time doing other things that are more valuable than looking at logs, right? Yeah.
Exactly right, Matt. And I've used many systems, AWS SSM, KMS, HashiCorp Vault. These are all systems that are good, but requires you to build all of that stuff up front. And as Blake mentioned earlier, infrastructure as code is very important to me. So I always insist that we do things the right way, quote unquote, with infrastructure as code. But you build a system, you build a vault, you start using it, and then it's like, oh, a secret got lost or a secret got leaked or something. How do we go back and find out what happened? And then you're building another system on top of that, because very rarely do you have the time to build it out completely end to end perfectly, where it tracks everything. Observability is all in place, all of that stuff. It's kind of like, here's your deadline, go. Okay, what can we actually scope this to actually get this done by a deadline? And I have many experiences of bringing down production systems with secrets specifically saying, oh, we rotated this key. We're going to rotate a key. What could possibly go wrong? Well, it turns out we can bring down the entire production system. Happens more than you can imagine.
I'm curious we've talked a little bit about the Circle CI leak and others, and around the risks of secrets. A lot of times when I hear conversations these days, it's around productivity, which we've mentioned a couple times already. Purely from a risk side, where do you think some of the most significant threats are coming from around secrets?
I can probably start there. As far as threats, I think most of the threats that I would consider are internal, right? So this is us, leaks from our internal employees, our internal systems. Threats aren't. I don't think anyone's like hacking our AWS infrastructure to try to figure out our secrets there. I think most of the threats are from having secrets on disk, or like I said earlier, passing secrets around through chat or through email, or and in my mind, there's kind of three different categories of secrets, or at least configurations that we want to have for our applications in different environments. And that would be configuration values, which is probably not very secret. Kind of some more public API keys, which are obfuscated maybe, but easily accessible by somebody who knows and can kind of sniff network traffic. And then real secrets, which are like your keys to your AWS infrastructure, right? And so somebody got those, but in my mind, developers don't always have a great grasp of where each one of those lies. So slacking somebody a key to your AWS infrastructure versus slacking somebody a key to an API, like maybe some engineers don't understand the gravity of what that is. So being able to manage all of this in a system that can track and allow access at different levels, like Doppler, is solves a lot of these threats that I would consider major threats of having secrets on disk, passing them around between engineers, and then just allowing even developers that are working on the product to have production secrets. That's something that I don't ever want them to do, but there are times where they need to troubleshoot a bug in production, so they would need access to that. So the ability that the Doppler can give to not allowing them to have plain view access of that, but allowing them to utilize that in a method. That's another kind of risk mitigation that I see that Doppler provides. But I think that the biggest threat is definitely from our internal developers, our internal users, not necessarily our customers or our somebody trying to hack our systems. I think we have a good ops team who keeps our stuff very secure, and does all the best security practices. It's more of just passing those around in plain view is probably, I think, the biggest threat.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, that was definitely some of our thinking going on there as well. Yeah, we were very concerned about secrets on disk, and the model that we had before Doppler was, secrets were stored somewhere safe, and then they were put on disk so that a developer could make use of them. And following the Swiss cheese model, we would much rather minimize that chance for secrets to end up on disk. Minimize or eliminate it entirely. And that's one of the other things that Doppler allowed us to do.
And Doppler is pretty crucial for allowing people to use secrets, but not necessarily have to have them or even see them, right? They can know that they're operating as they desire. But like laptops get stolen, right? In the bad old days, people would just copy everything to their laptop and then say, "Hey, I went to San Francisco, my car got broken into, no more laptop." We don't know where that went, right? And we didn't have a good way to wipe it. So we really had no way to even track that. So of course we would rotate keys every time something happened. And then it became a question of toil and work. Like if we're doing this every second week or so, is that valuable time where we should be building instead of just doing something that is a good security practice, but we can lower the number of times we have to do it per year? It should be done often, but not every second week.
Yeah, I mean, I have a funny story about just kind of that. I just recently flew from Chicago to back home to LA, and on the commotion of getting me and my kids off the plane, I set my laptop down, grabbed my backpack, and walked off the plane. And it occurred to me, right, as we're having this discussion, that like the secrets that I would have normally back 10 years ago would have normally had on the laptop, probably on an unencrypted disk, which is, something that all of our company laptops all have encrypted disks. They're all remote wipeable, right? And so, having those extra security layers after talking to our IT and being like, I don't know that I'm ever going to get this laptop back. They're like, don't worry about it. The laptop's encrypted. We can remotely wipe it. Thankfully, I don't, it was a miracle. I went back to the airport. It took me an hour and a half. This was right after the CrowdStrike issue. So you're literally watching people go from TV to TV rebooting the Windows systems for the airlines. But I was able to recover the laptop, which it was a miracle. But knowing that there wasn't anything on disk that could compromise that put the DevOps team, the security team, and myself all at ease.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. Let's just say secrets do get out. I'm sure all of us have had that like nightmare where, oh my gosh, our secrets go out in the wild. What does that actually look like? I feel like a lot of times when I talk to people, they struggle to visualize or what that would actually look like and what the cost would be, right? I think sometimes it's like it's hard to quantify, it's hard to think about. And so I'm curious I'm guessing all three of you have thought about that at some level of depth. What went through your head when you were thinking about this, and maybe even justifying this to the company if this is something we need to prioritize?
Yeah, I feel like certainly for us, when we had the Heroku and the Circle CI leaks, that not that the secrets were necessarily immediately made public, but we certainly had a concern that was a big fear for us, and it's something we wanted to do something about. And spinning up effectively a huge incident that involved every engineer, hundreds of, if not thousands of minutes of work to get per person to get to that stage, right? And to get to the point where we were happy, and using at the time tooling that meant that it was working against us. We didn't have any information about where the secrets originated from or where they were going to. We just knew that we had a secret that was in a place, and we didn't know what that meant. And it was an incredible amount of work. Brian, before the call, we were talking earlier about GitHub Advanced Security that we've just turned on and has secrets detection in there. And at a slightly smaller scale, we're also able to now see the secrets that exist in our public repos. And we were then in a position to set up an incident and talk to people directly, and go, okay, you can now. By the way, here's a chance, opportunity to go stick that secret in Doppler and rotate it, please, and everything else that kind of goes along with that, right?
Yeah, I think security in general, because security is a cost center, it's very difficult to somebody who's not technical, that doesn't understand the gravity involved in that, and us being good at what we do, those kind of breaches or those security problems happen very infrequently. But spending time thinking through that and then putting together a proposal, like why spending money on a service like Doppler makes sense, right? That's been kind of where pointing to other companies and their breaches and explaining at a higher level how that has happened and how we can be protected against that by using services like Doppler is pretty important, at least in my job, on making sure that we are putting enough dollars towards security so we don't have those kinds of events. Also, quantifying what it would take to, like Matthew said, spin up the entire, dev and ops teams to, go rotate all of your keys because there were leaks, and not even necessarily a breach, just that there were possible leaks, right? You're spinning up an entire team, and that's real dollars spent and real feature development or product development put on hold. Being able to quantify that and show that as part of, like, if this were to happen, this is what the actual dollar cost would be, is pretty important, I think, to getting people to buy into the fact that we do need better management of our secrets, of our security infrastructure, and spending money on those kinds of things, because it's not something that makes us money, right? It's easy to say a feature is going to make us money. It's a lot harder to say that, having secure tokens is going to actually make us money.
I like what you said there, Blake, as well. Sorry, Jeff. I like what you said, Jeff, Blake, about the improving confidence in your secrets as well. So that's something that we've really found, is that, even if we don't know that our secrets have necessarily been leaked, the fact that we can go, okay, it's not going to be too hard to rotate this just in case, is huge, right? We can do it. We can do it, and we're not worried about it. Increasing that confidence that our secrets are better than they were before, and reducing that friction that means that we can be confident about them. Sorry, Jeff.
Oh, no worries. Thank you, Matt. And I remember the Circle CI incident, quote unquote, very well, which was, we put the brakes on everything for, about a week, and it all, as we all know, it eventually ends up in a spreadsheet where we can track something. Everything is spreadsheets under the hood.
It's inevitably a spreadsheet, yeah.
Yep. Always goes there. And then, the org can turn around and say, like, why is everything delayed? And be like, okay, this is the risk that we're taking by not taking security as a first measure in every project we do, or every system we build, or every dollar we spend, right? I think Blake nailed it, where it's like, security costs money. No one loves to spend money, but it's all about talking to the organization about what is wise money versus unwise money, right? And security tools, especially for a security and compliance company like Secureframe, we're betting our reputation on that. So what is the reputational cost if something were to happen? So we can invest in tools like Doppler and things like that protect us from that, and also protect us from being dead in the water when secrets get leaked. And one very memorable instance from many years ago, I spent 72 hours in an office building with a bunch of ops folks recovering from a leak, and a very, a large problem for the company. Cost us a lot of money, a lot of reputational risk. And I've always used as an example of just how badly this can go, because it can go very badly, and ended up with me talking to an FBI agent in a very small room, which was a little bit nerve-wracking because it was maybe my second year as a DevOps manager.
That's never a position you want to end up in.
And never. And I'm also really glad, Jeff, that you brought up that it's not just about the time that it takes to remediate, but it's also like there's brand risk, there may be even legal risk. I'm curious if there are other factors outside of engineering investment time that came in specifically when you guys were evaluating, prioritizing, solving secret sprawl and making and having a good secrets management solution outside of just engineering.
I mean, I can, yeah, my purview is engineering, right? So, but I can definitely attest to the fact that when we went with Doppler, um, our security and legal teams were both raving about how well put together the information Doppler provided to them, how buttoned up it seemed like you guys really understood security from the ground level. The security teams had no problems with that. Our legal teams didn't have any major red lines on the contracts. Like it was pretty clear to me from which is much different than a lot of other vendors that we've dealt with. It's pretty clear to me that like Doppler knew what they were doing, that you guys from the ground up understood security, understood secrets, and how compliance works, especially at a public company. And we're able to provide all the documentation we needed. We already had answers to all the questions that the security team and the legal teams had. So from my perspective, just outside of engineering, and I know this was more of a cost question, but I wanted to say like our legal and security teams both were very impressed and appreciated the package that Doppler had, and it was easy to get sign off on those from those departments.
Absolutely. As a security person, I'm never satisfied with anything less than like an air-gapped server locked in a room inside a vault. But you have to balance, right? What's important, what's easy to use, right? Like what is easy and pleasant to use. And our security team as well was like, okay, well, we don't love this because we don't really love anything, but it was just like this is the best we're going to get, and the cost is reasonable per seat licensing, as opposed to per API call or something crazy like that people love to gouge us with. So yeah, it really was a very easy decision to make, even for people who are very against storing our company secrets outside of our company infrastructure and area.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I've come from the UK government civil service, who are very much a place that says no as their default answer. But I've come to learn based off of that, so that in this industry, you've got to make pragmatic decisions to make people more secure, right? And there is absolutely, you can lock servers in a room and lock people in a room, but you're not actually going to improve your security through that. So there's never going to be the perfect solution. Sorry, Brian. But, it's realistic. It's realistic decisions that make engineers or allow engineers to do things that they want to do, rather than force them down a route that they don't want to do and having to fight for it and spend money on things that aren't actually going to work, and spending cycles and effort on all of that, right? So yeah, it's got to be a pragmatic decision that allows engineers to do the things that they actually need to do, because they're the people who are driving business in your company. And if you're forcing them down a route they don't want to go, that's effort that is being wasted.
And may I add, it's a pretty system, and it does what you expect. I think most developers enjoy, right? If they can grok it right off the bat, they're happy, which means less complaints to me, which makes me happy.
Yeah, Jeff touched on the Doppler cost model. I just wanted to comment a little bit there. It was much easier to sell Doppler and to project our actual costs because it's a per seat, right? So hopefully our engineering size doesn't change, like our developer size doesn't change drastically. If it grows, that's a huge benefit. But throughout the year, so it's very easy to project and predict what the cost of that is versus a usage-based. The fact that we weren't paying for number of calls or usage-based other than seats means that we were it was much easier to roll this out into all of our infrastructure quicker than maybe budgets would allow, right? We were able to really take every one of our services and every thing that needed secrets and make this happen. And it was actually fairly easy to roll that out across our organization because we were already using AWS SSM, and we continued to use that. Doppler we used primarily as like the user interface. So like, yeah, Jeff and Matt said, that Doppler is like a joy to use for our developers, especially coming from our own homegrown solution or using SSM, the UI of it, the easeability of making configuration changes, and you guys have added the PR feature, which is really huge. The audit logs, the secrets history, being able to roll back and just make changes from a nice, clean, friendly UI. The ability to branch, all of these things I've heard great things from all of my engineers. Just that the features are unlike anything else that they've used, and far beyond even what we developed internally previously that we are moving off of, just because we don't want to support. So that's a cost savings too, right? Not supporting our own infrastructure. So all of that added into the argument of why Doppler made so much sense for us to move to.
I want to take a second to, by the way, I appreciate all the glowing reviews across the board. I mean, that truly was not the goal of this webinar, but I greatly appreciate it. I'm sure everyone at Doppler does too. I want to take a second and take a step back and out of the world of Doppler, and we just look at secrets management as a whole. And you guys were going through this process again of like, we've now identified this as a real problem that needs to be solved. And you're looking at what are the factors you'd be looking for in the next secrets manager? And let's not bring up Doppler or any other names of other companies, but more of what are the properties you'd be looking for, like ease of use or integration with like your infrastructure. What are those kind of properties that you'd be looking for?
I mean, certainly for me, the thing that I'm looking at on the horizon is not to have secrets at all. Like, it doesn't necessarily fit your business model very well. But ideally, you would be able to authenticate everything through OIDC, and the current solution that we have where we are passing around secrets is a intermediary step on that branch because it's really nice and easy to implement. People understand it really, really well. It's just a matter of passing some strings around. They're really easy to identify when things go wrong, but they're all kind of like workarounds for the fact that we are just passing strings between different systems, right? And yeah, where I'd really like to see in the future is greater use of OIDC, so we can see that with the integrations already between GitHub and AWS. So you can, rather than having any IAM user secrets being passed around, it's just OIDC. I trust both ends. Therefore, I should have access to that. And you never need secrets that sit on disk. You never need secrets that anyone could walk away with. That's where I see it. But it's going to be a long journey from here to there, right? And you've got to be able to solve that intermediary problem, which is where we are. But the dream is OIDC. And I know OIDC covers a lot of things, but particularly that system to system authentication is huge. Yeah.
I think I look at secrets. So yes, for maybe system to system authentication, but I think that secrets can encompass a bigger world, and in our use case, it does. Even just having some kind of configuration values that aren't necessarily secrets, but we still use just because it's such. We still need a mechanism for that, right? It's still necessary for our systems to understand certain things and have different configurations per environment. And so again, like I explained before, that's like a spectrum of actual secrets, right? And I think OIDC does solve kind of the more system to system connection piece that I think is what we're primarily trying to solve and keep secret. But I think just in secrets management, there's a bigger picture of, and I don't think configuration or things that are maybe public secrets, or like or obfuscation secrets, things that aren't really secret or wouldn't compromise systems. Those kinds of things I think will always have a place to being stored in some kind of system that needs to be changed and rotated and different per environment. So that's kind of how I see the bigger picture of secrets.
And while I appreciate Matt's contention that we should get rid of secrets, yes, one day in the future that will be lovely. I think my very pragmatic view of it is like strong RBAC, the ability to rotate things automatically, and the ability to prevent people from seeing stuff, right? And even as simple as prevent people from copy pasting, right? I've been burned so much in the past by people just copy and pasting locally to their laptop or to a server. And they're like, now where was that pesky thing? Once it's there, it's gone, right? We can't consider it controlled in any sense of the word. But that's my very simple-minded approach. Like, what would the perfect system be for me? And what would make me feel safest and let me sleep at night?
And Matt, just to jump on that a little bit on the OIDC train, it is something Doppler's actively thinking about. As Blake mentioned, and Jeff, I don't think it will replace all secrets, but I definitely think like probably the most sensitive tier of secrets, like connecting to like AWS or your cloud infrastructure or wherever it may be. I could imagine that completely moving over to an identity model, and Doppler kind of sees it as part of our mission to make that happen. So we're definitely going to be with you every step of the way to make that a reality. Um, I'm curious though. Let's take another flip side of things with the time that we have left. What are the common mistakes you guys have seen in the past with orgs when they're managing secrets? And how did that like what costs did the organization have to bear because of it?
So I think the simplest answer for me is that there is no plan for secrets. That setting out a policy that says secrets cannot last a particular length of time. That secrets have to be stored in a particular system or handled in a particular way is hugely valuable in allowing your development teams to have uh, at least set expectations about how things are supposed to be handled, right? It's I call myself like a policy nihilist. Like policy is one of those things that just goes and sits in a corner and nobody actually ever reads. But having something for security teams to say, hey, wouldn't it be great if you could do this? And this is the reasons, and the company's kind of agreed on this single way of doing it is quite helpful. But I've definitely seen places where that does not exist, and you then end up with a disparate of various different ways of doing things, and everyone chooses their own pet tool, and there's no consistency. So when you end up with secrets leaks, then no one really knows how to manage that, right? Because everyone's doing their own individual thing.
Right. I've seen that happen. I've seen the fact that we have different development teams, we have different in groups of engineers, and everyone for a while was managing their secrets differently. We had our own rolled homegrown solution. Sure, you can put together a committee and you can write down secrets best practices, you can make a policy and you can tell everyone and point at a Confluence doc that says this is the policy. But engineers are going to do what they want to do unless they have a tool that guides them and focuses them. And we tried to roll our own tool, and it became a burden. That was a true cost that was measurable on updates and maintenance to it, and it was a true cost for our QA team and our engineering team and our ops team to try to support this tool. I think software like Doppler enforces that policy, right? So now we not only have a document, and I would argue, our policy can be what Doppler is enforcing. There's still best practices and guidelines for infrastructure and how we form those, and we want everything to be consistent, of course. Well, I want everything to be consistent. So I do my best to try to share all that, but when you have a tool that everybody normalizes on, that utilizes, that forces you to be in those guardrails and doesn't allow you to leak things. Now, of course, you can configure it incorrectly, but it is one central location where you can audit it, you can look into it, you can have, somebody who is specifically monitoring that tool, whether it be Doppler or our own homegrown tool. The problem with our own homegrown tool was just the cost and maintenance of it. And we're not in the business of creating, software tooling. We are in the business of creating software for our customers. So being able to offload that to somebody who specializes in it was a good decision that we made, and a cost savings to boot.
For me, the two biggest mistakes that are kind of intertwined are ownership and accountability, right? I had a home rolled system previously where everybody owned it because everybody knew basically how it worked, but some engineer had built like basically a Ruby gem that did this stuff. Everybody owned it, but no one was accountable for keeping it up to date, making sure it was doing what we expected it to do. And that went on, right? And the cost there is always this drag, this operational drag of like, oh, something's broken here. Let's go find out. Oh, nobody really owns this thing. Like, let's put all our heads together, sit in a meeting for 45 minutes trying to figure out exactly like how this thing is operating, why it's broken, and all of this stuff. That ends up being very costly in a startup where your main job is to ship software every day to your customers. If you can't do that, you're basically burning money. And I certainly don't enjoy burning money.
Well, we're about just at the end of time, sadly. This was a real joy to have, and I greatly appreciate you guys sharing your insights. The glowing recommendation of Doppler was a huge plus. And so I think it's time to wrap up, but I wanted to give you guys each a chance to say one last thing. If you wanted to like leave a parting message to anyone who's listening, feel free to do so.
So I saw that we had a question about the growing use of AI generation. How do you think the growing use of AI generation will impact security and security secrets specifically? I think the biggest thing about AI that we're seeing is the ability for AI to have that information, right? So understanding code and using code as context. Something that we've been implementing GitHub Copilot across our organization. And one big thing about that is that we want to make sure that there are no secrets in our code. So having secret scanning and all of that enabled, I think that is a big guardrail. But even beyond that is not allowing developers to have, like what Jeff said, not allowing developers to have access to view, copy, paste, add to code, add in their environments, these secrets, right? The developers can't even do that. I think that will protect us against AI. AI code generation isn't, in my mind, any different than going and copying something off of Stack Overflow, other than it's just right there and helps you. The only time that it becomes a security issue is if it's able to read things that it already knows about, and it should never know about any of the secrets.
I think AI is only good for writing LinkedIn posts. It's my personal opinion.
It's not even very good at that.
Hit or miss.
I was thinking that one of the things, moving away from AI, that's a whole can of worms. But yeah, I think the thing is to think about secret rotation and how you can make that as streamlined as possible. It's so key to improving your security posture. That's so crucial.
We have one last question that just came in. I'd love for you guys, if you have the time, to give it an answer.
I can't see it. I'm not sure where Lake is seeing it. Are you able to read it out?
Sure. So the question is, though I'm an OIDC OAuth enthusiast, the reality is something else. Things like API keys is still fairly common. Are secret managers generally designed for high cardinality secrets? My engineering manager is worried that customers will stick their secrets in places and performance might be impacted if we're reading secrets all the time. Of course, there are optimizations, but this is generally a pattern secrets managers can support. Question.
We have two types of systems, right? We have our entire backend infrastructure, which we use Doppler for, but our front end all of our front-end clients need to have API keys supplied to them. And those keys can rotate. So it's, as we create builds of and ship apps, those apps need to read their configuration. So like these API keys from somewhere. Firebase has had a solution. There's multiple solutions on the market, and that's something we've actually been talking to Doppler about. Is that something in the roadmap that because Doppler wouldn't have public applications, all the clients reading secrets from the Doppler API, but there might be something that is backed by CloudFront or some kind of way to serve secrets in an encrypted manner end to end to the client applications. So these are things that we have solutions for currently, but we're looking for better solutions. And this is something that I think is right up Doppler's alley that we've been kind of talking to our reps over there for.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have a 100% solid answer on that, but I think the system that Blake is talking about, like in the near future, I think that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, if you're doing a bunch of reads all over the place, your systems are going to be, your performance is going to be impacted, and there are no two ways about that. But the more you can mitigate that, I think that the better off you'll be. But I think yeah, optimizations are key, and encryption, of course, that's sort of a no-brainer, right? And I think sometimes it comes last at the end of the day instead of first, but critical to the success of any sort of secrets management.
Yeah, I'm not sure I entirely understood the question, but I think one of the things that we make good use of is integrations. So, rather than backing off of Doppler to read secrets from, we generally have integrations into AWS and pulling the secrets from say it's a Lambda, it will pull it out of the secret store in AWS rather than trying to back off onto Doppler, and we make best use of that where we can so that we're not overloading the systems, or potentially if there's a spike or whatever, then we run into rate limits or whatever. We keep the secrets as close as you can to the processing.
All righty. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I know we're a little bit over time, but I greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure the crowd does too. I'll wrap up by saying this is our talk on why secrets management is no longer a nice to have. And we were joined by Matt, Jeff, and Blake. So thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.